English language is a constantly growing being. Compounding, derivation, conversion, we have many ways of adding new words into the lexicon, and one of them is what we have come to know as metonymy. In their book Metaphors We Live By, professors of linguistics George Lakoff and Mark Johnson define metonymy as
a figure of speech which enables one part or aspect of an experience to stand for some other part, or the whole, of that experience.
But what does this mean? Think about tissues. If you feel like you are going to sneeze, some well-mannered person may offer you a Kleenex. Why a Kleenex and not just a tissue? This is metonymy, when the specific term substitutes the broader.
During our research on this topic, except for some few and far between references, we realized there was not much information when it came to studies or other scholars' opinions. Because of this, we thought it would be a good opportunity for us to delve into the subject and see what conclusions we may come up with.
Remember those tissues? This is a very good example of how deeply rooted brand names can be in our language, seeing Kleenex more as a synonym than as a brand name itself. Let's see a couple more examples. When words subjected to metonymy gets settled into language, forthcoming generations may not even realize that the terms they are using originate from brand names. This is the case with words such as reborn tumbler, which will turn into what we know today as a trampoline. And what comes to mind when you hear the words petroleum jelly? That's a common name of what we call Vaseline. But we call it Vaseline because that's the name of the brand that commercialized the material. Nowadays, the brand Vaseline does still exist, but we don't call it like that to ask for the brand, but for the material. And the same goes for Tupperware. The ubiquitous tuppers were invented in 1946 by Earl Tupper, an American chemist who was just experimenting with this new material called plastic. Nowadays, we use the term Tupper or Tupperware to refer to any plastic or glass container with snap-closed lids used for storing food. And lastly, we recognize dumpsters as mobile garbage bins, which have become more famous as society has evolved. The brand dumpster became so famous that their mark has been used as a noun to describe poverty or messy places, as in the sentence, "Do you live in a dumpster?"
From our point of view, this evolution of the language is totally natural, especially when we take into account how globalized the world is nowadays. The media helps the gigantic and famous brands extend their leadership, leaving the rest out of the lexicon. We know it is impossible for a single company to distribute all the tissues in the world, but we can only think of one company, Kleenex. Then, we should ask ourselves if the hegemony of a single brand for the whole existence of a product is beneficial for the English language at all. On the one hand, communication becomes easier and more generalized, since we are using one term to refer to a broader group. On the other hand, we also see a decrease of lexical baggage, since we are using one term to refer to a whole. So, what do you think? Is the addition of these proprietary names into the lexicon an expansion of the language? Or are we losing wealth by dropping the more generic terms?